Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 film Night Swim, and I'm going to start this by saying every film is worth watching at least once just to figure out how you personally feel about it. Now, that said, I don't know that many people who actually liked Night Swim who have seen it. I actually went into this knowing that, so I was kind of like, maybe it'll hit a little different for me. I need to see, how bad this necessarily is, and I thought it was pretty bad, to be honest. This film is directed by Bryce McGuire, who also directed Unfollowed and was involved in writing the script for the film Baghead, which is actually on Shudder at this point, and I think Baghead is definitely a significantly better film than Night Swim is. So if you have seen Baghead and you didn't like it, you're probably not going to like Night Swim. But if you saw Baghead and you liked it, maybe you'll like a little bit of Night Swim. I don't know. There were a few positives that did show up in the film, but not a whole lot. This was written by McGuire as well as Rod Blackhurst, who wrote Blood for Dust. And the script, I think, it's a script. It's a script. Let me put it that way. Well, let me put it this way, actually. This was originally a short film. So the short film must have been good enough to convince people to bankroll making this an actual feature film. But this is the problem. A lot of films that start out as a short film and go to feature end up having so much filler in it, and that is very evident with this film. It's obvious that the writers did not know how to make this an effective feature-length film at all. There's so much filler thrown into this film, it's ridiculous. It literally just seems like they had a deadline to get stuff done by, and they just kind of slapped stuff together, and were like, there you go. I did watch this through Vudu. I did a digital rental with tax and everything. It was $6.35, so I did not spend a lot. I didn't see it in the theater like plenty of people did, and that would have been an expensive mistake, in my opinion. So, quick synopsis. What is Night Swim about? Night Swim is about a family who are kind of down on their luck because the patriarch of the family was a pro baseball player who all of a sudden is diagnosed with MS, and that's taking a toll on him, and he can't play baseball anymore. So things are on the downslope from a mental standpoint with the family. They're all feeling very down about this. They move to be, I believe, near a place that has kind of better treatment for him, and they move into this place with a pool, because obviously Night Swim. Now, there's something going on with the pool, though. Everyone experiences these things going on with the pool, and it's supposed to be a horror film. I mean, there are horror aspects to it for sure, but it's just the pool doing spooky stuff, basically. So, I'll make a movie comparison at the very end. I'll warn you before I do that, plus thematic stuff, if you don't want to know and you want to go into watching this without knowing any of that stuff. So, I'll just let you know. But that's basically a synopsis. It's about how this family deals with it. It's a pretty tired trope that ends up getting used in this film. It's something you've seen in a lot of horror films before, and it doesn't bring anything new at all. Well, I mean, I guess the pool aspect is new, but it's not effective, in my opinion. The opening sequence of the film actually is intriguing enough and has some cool visuals to it that really does kind of make you like, okay, I'm interested to see where we're going. What is the origin of what's going on with this pool itself? So it does hook you in enough. Plus, like I said, it has some good visuals to it. And that's the thing, like cinematically, the cinematography is good. Like, it looks good. It's shot pretty well. So from those technical standpoints, it's good. I question some of the choices with the score. For the most part, the score was okay, but there were some areas where it was just like, this sounds very weird for what's going on right now. I don't know how they're matching this up. But yeah, in the beginning, the characters feel pretty realistic from a combination of the writing and the acting. I think that the actors, for the most part, did what they could with the roles. And early on, the writing of the characters is pretty solid. Over time in the film, it really starts to break down, and you end up getting to a point where you're like, some of the choices these characters are making don't make any sense, and some of the interactions these characters are having with each other don't also make all that much sense. And there are some really horrible lines of dialogue that end up coming into this film, especially towards the end of it, like laughably quotable bad lines of dialogue. So this is actually a film I would recommend watch it with friends. Like, have some drinks, have a good time, make fun of this movie while you watch it. It's one of those types of films. This could be a film that resurfaces in some decades, and people are like, man, look at this, so bad it's a good film. I'm calling it right now. I'm telling you. It goes a bit too hard on the jump scares. You really do get used to the fact that they're throwing jump scares at you, and they're just going to keep doing that. So a few of them were kind of effective, but the problem is, once again, you have to sparingly use them in order for them to have greater impact. It's kind of like anything in life. Too much of it, people just get used to it, and then it's not as effective. It's quality over quantity, and they go for quantity instead of quality in this instance. So, very unfortunate. Although there are a few good jump scares in there. Probably like 2 I can think of that were pretty solid. Maybe 3. But they throw so much, you're just like, okay, I get it. This film feels very repetitive, especially when it comes to shots of people kneeling next to the pool trying to fish things out of it. Very early on in the film, you see, within a very short span of time, the same shot done over and over and over. Someone kneeling next to a pool trying to grab something out of it. So repetitive. This movie is ridiculously repetitive. People keep just going back to the pool. It's like they can't do anything story-wise outside of being with this pool. They do a very small amount of that away from the pool, but it's not a scary setting. Yes, there are some things they could have done to the pool to make it look more menacing or look more scary, but they don't. It looks just like a pool. It's a generic-looking pool. There are some scary-ish things that happen inside it from time to time, but they needed to kind of make it look eerie, make it look scary from the get-go so it could create atmosphere. There is no atmosphere created for this film, unfortunately. The movie gets to a point of feeling kind of ridiculous and corny, which spawns from how often the pool is shown when it doesn't look menacing and how forced reactions between the characters end up becoming. And that also going along with what I was talking about with those horrible lines of dialogue that end up popping up. And it really does seem like this movie should have been making fun of itself, but it didn't. It should have been one of those things where people started making the film like Snakes on a Plane when that was made. You start making the film, but you're doing it seriously, and then you realize, you know what? People are not going to find this scary or all that interesting. We need to change the script all of a sudden, and we need to start making fun of this. This is the type of film I would have liked to have seen made as a Roger Corman production that was super self-aware and not trying to be serious and just feeling like, look, it's like a killer pool. That is so stupid, but we're going to have fun with it. This tries to take that concept seriously, and it just doesn't work at all. The movie feels ridiculously padded for time. Just to stretch to that like hour and a half, the pacing is horrible with this movie. You are going to get very bored very easily. They do throw out a few scary scenes. Like I said, a few of those jump scares do work. There are a few things that do look kind of cool that they do within the pool, but it's just not enough to really redeem things. All the main characters experience scary things with the pool, but keep using it like it's not actually a problem. This is one of those things where it's like, what's going on with the characters doesn't seem to make sense. You know, they're all experiencing like these terrifying things. All of them, they know about this, they talk about it, and then they just next day are just like, yeah, we're just back in the pool again. I don't understand. There's so much logic missing from this film. And when you're trying to make a film from a serious standpoint, instead of making fun of it and making it look stupid and ridiculous, you need to have logic in there. And it's just not there. They tried very unsuccessfully to make this about familial issues. I see where they made attempts here and there, but instead of actually hitting it properly, they end up just putting extra stuff in that's boring. Just saying. It feels very half-assed, I will say that. There are some very laughably bad quotes, already talked about that one. A super idiotic decision is made at the end when it's very clear what the smart and obvious decision should have been. It's one of those things, again, where it's like the filmmakers were so focused on trying to only shoot at the pool, and it's like no other story or no other options or thoughts could exist outside of being at that pool physically. I don't get it. The end credits song, horrible. I don't know how that got chosen. I don't know how that's a song that exists, let's be honest. Listen to it. It's something. So now it was when I'm. Oh wait, real quick. The big question you want answered in this film: what is the origin story of the pool? That does get answered, kind of. It's not satisfactory enough. I like the idea behind where they were trying to go with that, but it's not fully fleshed out, and I think they should have gone further with it and given people a more definitive answer, because there is a point where they're like, oh, well, it's kind of like this, and then, but then they don't, but then they basically kind of like in the same scene say, literally one of the characters is kind of like, but I don't really know, and it's just like, what is the point of this? Okay, so now's where I'm going to talk about the other stuff, like thematic stuff and a comparison to another film. But before I do that, I'll go ahead and say, out of 5 stars, half stars, and play, this is a 1-star film for me personally. Go ahead and put it in the comments if you want to talk about this, if you liked it, hated it, in between, all that. And before I get to the theme and all that stuff, subscribe to my channel, please. Really appreciate that. Hit the like button on this video and any video I put up. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And hit the notification bell button, because that's how you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. But anyway, now log off if you don't want to know this part. It's just a big mistake to center a full movie around a pool like this. Maybe branch out to other parts of the house. That's one of the big things. That was kind of just going wrong with the other stuff. But it's basically a crappy ripoff of the Amityville Horror. Now, I say this to people all the time when the Amityville Horror comes up, is that Burnt Offerings is the best movie about this type of stuff. Then Amityville Horror is a okay version of what Burnt Offerings is. Now, Night Swim is a terrible version of what Amityville Horror is. So it's this progression of, just don't watch Night Swim. I wouldn't even recommend necessarily Amityville Horror, honestly. Just go to Burnt Offerings. Just go straight to Burnt Offerings. Plus, it has Oliver Reed in it. Unbelievable actor. You'll love his performance. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Night Swim. Again, in the comments, we can talk. We can do spoilers and all that. That's cool. But thank you so much for your time for watching this. And until next time, keep it brutal.